Welcome to episode 3 of the GOAT Deluxe amp here. Just want to show you where we are. I put a video up last night, and Bill, our friend, old 64 GOAT, was actually probably a mind reader, because he actually asked me what I plan on doing with this thing. He asked me, what about doing this? And I wrote back and said, I'm already thinking about that. And I spent the good part of today figuring out if I could actually build the amp this way, and that's what I'm going to do. So what you're looking at here is the faceplate. I've actually taken the faceplate and cleaned it. It's got a very thick coat of gray paint on it, and it's got some silver underneath, which, you know, cleaned up really nicely. And it's got a nice shine to it. Let me see if I can turn this off, and maybe you can see a little better. But it's got a nice shine. But you'll see that over the years, someone decided to try to do something with this amp. And they carved a B and a T into the paint. Well, we're going to leave that there. Just goes with the history of the amp. There's also a letter S somewhere up here that someone was trying to carve. So I guess at some point someone was thinking about turning it into something. That really doesn't matter for us. So we've got this faceplate ready to go. And what first thing we're going to do is we're going to populate the faceplate. So we're going to put in our tone pot, which is a 250K pot, our volume, which is 1 meg, and our second tone pot, which is going to be 250 meg. That's what's going to go here. Over here is going to be the input for the amp. Over here is going to be our indicator light, right there. And right here is going to be our on-off switch. The speaker jack for this thing is actually going to be in the back of the amp. And I'll show you how I'm going to do that. So let me get this thing kind of mounted and show you what I plan on doing with it, and I will come back. Okay, so this thing is just loosely attached at the moment, but you'll see that I had the faceplate mounted to the front of the chassis. And all I really did was I took this faceplate, raised it up so that this meter can fit through, and that's going to work out really well, because now I don't have to worry about using the shielded wires. Right? I can do my wiring right where it needs to be. I don't have to worry about so much about noise. I'm still going to have my meter there. I've got a nice space here. I can still mount it in something. Let's take a look from the top and show you what I need to do. Now, because I'm going to have this meter here, I can't put my transformer there. But that's no problem, because I have these two holes. So simply, what I'll do is I'll just mount my transformer right here, like this. Real simple, piece of cake. No big deal. I don't have to cut anything. I've already got some mounting holes here. I just need to create 2 more. And my transformer is going to sit right there, like that. Let's get a little closer. My meter is going to sit right here, as far away from that as possible, like that. And then the rest of it's going to be real simple, right? So I've got my transformer there. Here's my volume knob right here. So I'll have my 12AX7 right over here. I'll have my two 6AQ5s back here, my output tubes, and my output jack for the speakers will be back here. So everything works perfectly this way. I don't have to worry about raising it up. I don't have to worry about using shielded wire. And it'll make it that much easier to mount this amp into something, which I haven't figured out yet, but I'll get to it. So that's going to be the plan. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take care of this faceplate and mount all the right controls in it, like this again, okay? Like I told you, I'm going to mount all the pots and the wires and the lights and all that stuff in here, get this secured. Right now it's just loose. I left a little wiggle room in there so I can adjust it, but that's exactly where I want it to be. And this is going to be a great way to preserve the amp's history, but make it into something a little more usable. Okay? So Bill, you were right on the money, man. That's exactly what we're going to do. And we're going to start populating this, and I will come back when that's done. I'll show you how that's all completed. Very, very simple. There's actually a really easy way to do this without getting crazy. So I'll show you how to do that. I'll be back. Okay, so we're kind of at an impasse here. I need a few parts before I can continue. Basically what I'm waiting for is a 250K pot that goes here and here for the tone. So this is going to be on hold a minute, but I want to show you what's going to be our next series. At least get you started on that one. So let me line that up, and I'll be right back. Okay, so here's our next project. It's a Crossley 1931 Playtime grandfather clock. Check it out. Let me flip it around the back so I can show you. You can see the clock mechanism is a Hammond. This is the Hammond organ, not the Hammond Transformer Company. Like that. And you'll see it comes down here. This is the shelf where the radio goes, and you can see there's a piece broken. So we're going to have to do a little bit of cabinet work. This plug from here, from the clock, comes down like so. And then here's our speaker. You'll see there's a hole in the speaker. So we're going to need to fix that. Pretty beefy speaker. Like so. And the chassis is a Crossley 124. And let me show you what that looks like.
What was that?
Here's the chassis, and you can see it's old. 1931. This is the volume, very, very stiff. I assume this is a tone control, I don't know yet. Maybe that's the on-off switch. This appears to be frozen, the tuning cap. So that's definitely going to have to come off and get cleaned. And you'll see it looks like it has one of those blue tubes in there. See that? Really cool. And maybe that's an 80. Not sure yet. And got a typical 47 tube there. And I'm not sure what the rest of the lineup is yet. I haven't really done a lot of research. Let's take a look on the back. Flip it around. Here's one of those capacitor cans, I imagine. Right back. Okay, here's the back. There's the model number, 124. That's where your speaker connection goes. And there's your antenna and your ground. And let's flip it over so you can see underneath. Okay, looking bottom side, you'll see there's not a lot here. You got your coils right here, which you're going to have to test. Looks like we got a sardine can here. This is the filter caps. This is original, by the way. A lot of these that I've done research on, people have ripped those out long ago and replaced them. So that's original. A couple of electrolytics here. There's not a lot. There's a couple of dog bones. And it appears to be original. The only thing I could see that's a problem right now is this wire here appears to be broken. Right? It looks like it's broken in two places, right here and here. So we'll have to see what that's all about. But we're going to do a nice cleanup and a restore on this thing. We're going to restore the cabinet, and then the clock has to be restored as well. I would imagine that clock probably has a lot of grease and gunk and cement in it. I haven't plugged it in. I'm not going to do that yet. And we're going to see what that's all about. So that's the plan. Anyway, this will be coming up as our next project. I'm not going to start on this yet. Just going through it as a preview. So anyway, let's get back to our Goat Deluxe. Be back. Okay, so we're going to put our other pots in. So this is the two-tone pots, right? They're both 250K. One goes here, one goes here, and this is our volume pot right here. You can see it. Now, this particular pot doesn't have a tab on it. Some of the pots that you may get actually have a little ear sticking up, and you could drill a hole to prevent it from spinning. But the right way to do this is to use these star washers. So you put a star washer on here, put that through the hole, put on your nut, and when you screw that down the right way, that star washer is going to grab into the back and it's not going to spin. Now, over years, you have to tighten it because it will loosen up over time. But for the most part, this works really well. So let's get this on here. Make sure we don't cross-thread it. There we go. Now what I do with these things is I use a deep well socket after it flies across the room, like so. And I just kind of snug these things down like this. I want to make sure my connections are at top. That's where I want them. I'm just snugging by hand here. Okay? I'm going to do the same thing with the input jack. Okay, so now we have that in place. Let's put our second one in. Same deal. Star washer. in through the hole, and we'll put the nut on there. Again, we want our connection points facing up. I'm going to tighten that down by hand, and we'll go back and hit that later with the ratchet, but we don't want to do it right yet. And we got to be careful, we don't want to scratch the faceplate either. So looking at what we have right now, we have our input jack, our volume control, our bass, our treble, our on-off switch right there, and our indicator light. The meter, we'll do that later. Okay? One thing I do want to check though on this power switch is if I have it installed in the right direction. So we'll do that real quick. So on the front here it says this is off and this is on. Let's see if we've got it right. So we're going to connect our leads, put it on continuity. There we go. Helps when you have a good connection. So right now the switch is in the on position, and there's off. Off, on. Okay, so we have our switch in the right position. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to remove this faceplate and we're going to start doing some of the rudimentary wiring under here. So let me remove it and I'll be right back. Okay, so here's the back of our unit. You can see we have our dial lamp here. There's our power switch. Here's our volume, treble, and bass. I'm going to put the treble in the middle. So what's really helpful is to just mark these so you don't get it wrong because you are working backwards. Volume, treble, and bass. All right, we got that marked there. We're not going to make a mistake now. So let's take a look at our schematic real quick. Let's see what we have here. Let's see what we can accomplish. So if I look here on the schematic, here's our treble and bass controls. Let me see if I can zoom in and show you that a little closer. Okay, here's the wiper of the treble. Here's the wiper of the bass. So it looks like one side of the bass is connected to one side of the treble, and then there's a 0.1 capacitor that comes off of there. Okay? So in essence, what we could do is we could tie those two together, those two ends together, and just put a cap there, 0.1, which we're going to have to then bring back under the chassis, which is fine, right? Because it's going to need to come back and connect underneath to this tube here, which is the 12AX7. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to make this connection first, right here, between treble and bass, and we're going to tie that cap in. And on the other side of the bass has a 0.047 coming out as well, and it also has a 6.8K resistor that goes to ground. Coming out of the side of the treble is a 250 pico cap. So that's really what our connections are. And then the wiper of the treble comes back here and goes to the 12AX7. So we're going to have to run a wire for that as well, but we're not going to do that yet. You'll also notice on this bass control that one side of the pot goes to the wiper. So that gets connected together. So a wiper to the end to a 0.047. Pretty simple. So that's what we're going to do. So let me go do that and I'll be right back. Okay, we have our tone stack pretty much set up here. I'm just going to clean these connections with some 90% rubbing alcohol. All right, you always do that. And by the way, I got one of these bottles. I think Scott Johnston bought one of these for John from Arkansas. And these things work really well. I think John said his stopped working. I got them on Amazon, John, for like, I don't know, $3 or something. So we're going to clean these up. So that's cleaned up. Let's go through the schematic and let's mark what we've done. We'll see if we can do this together here. There you go. Okay. Let's start here with our volume control, which is right here. Okay? Let's move this back just a little bit. So, the wiper of the volume control is this blue wire right here. Okay? And that blue wire is going to go underneath the chassis, and it's going to go to the pin 7 of the 12AX7. So we're just going to mark here blue. And we're going to put a little orange line here that we've got that done. This leg of the volume pot goes to ground right here. Haven't done that yet, so we're going to leave it. This leg of the volume pot goes up to the wiper of the treble control. That's right here. It's this green wire, and it goes right here. So we're going to mark that as done. Okay, that's complete. One side of the treble pot goes to a 250 picofarad cap, which is right here, not connected to anything. So we're going to mark right up here to the cap. The other side of the treble comes right here, attaches to the other side of the bass control, and there's a 0.1 cap in the center. It's this blue wire here, so there's a wire that goes from here to here, and I have this 0.1 cap tied right here. So this is done. This cap is done right here. That's connected. Going back to the bass control, there's a 0.047 that goes to the other end of the bass. There's also a 6.8K that goes to the other end of the bass. And this wire comes up and actually attaches to the wiper. So what I've done here is on this cap, I've actually threaded it through and connected it directly to the wiper. So this is the 0.047 cap, and this is a 6.8K resistor. So this is done. Like so. Now this resistor here goes to ground. Haven't done that yet. This 0.047 actually attaches to this 0.1 cap here. All right, it's the same connection point, and I'll clean that up in a little bit and do that off camera. And then what we'll have to end up having here is a 100K resistor that comes up and attaches to this 250 pico cap. But we're going to do all that underneath the chassis. I'm not going to do that on the control itself. So we're just going to run wires down. It's short enough, and we'll do all those connections underneath the chassis. Aside from that, we have our input jack here. Haven't done anything. One side goes to ground, one side goes to our 68K resistor, and there's a 1 meg that goes to ground from there. Haven't done that yet. Obviously, we haven't done our on-off switch, and we haven't done our filament lines that go to the bulb at this point. But we have our tone stack pretty much done. So this is good news. I'm trying to keep everything extremely neat, right? So, for example, we're going to bend this down like this. That's how we're going to handle it. And we're going to bend this down like this. And we're going to make sure we leave room for our meter in here, our analog meter. So that's the story. So this part's done. Now we just need to start working underneath the chassis, and we'll make sure we run the appropriate wires up here to connect to these components. But everything's neat. Okay, I think that's going to be it for this episode, because I am going to have to start working underneath the chassis. As you could see, the chassis, I've done absolutely nothing to it. But that's okay, because that's what we're going to start next. If you recall, the transformer is not going to be here. It's going to be mounted here, because we're going to put our faceplate right here in the front. I'm going to have to drill some holes here for my 12AX7. I have all the tube sockets, everything that I need here. And then I'm going to put my two 6AQ5s over here. And I'm going to put my inverter tube somewhere around here. And remember, there's no rectifier tube in this thing. I'm using diodes for that. 1N4007s. So tomorrow we'll start getting this thing in better shape, and we'll be in good shape. So we're going to end this video here. Hope everybody's doing well. Talk to you soon.